So the key takeaway is that at the higher end 4-5 games, consistency is no longer going to win me many points because most teams at this level are quite consistent. I need to start making more. What if I told you there's one secret weapon that's heavily underutilized in a 4-5 men's doubles game? If you spend time getting good at it, it can help you increase your chances of winning more games at the 4-5 level. Recently, Paul and I have played a 4-5 plus men's doubles Moneyball tournament at the Austin Pickle Ranch. A total of 12 teams entered this tournament, including some of the toughest 4-5 level local players. Thanks to my duper of 3.75 and with a combined duper of just 8.13, Paul and I proudly became the lowest seed of the tournament. And by the way, if you didn't already know Paul, he's another pickleball YouTuber who also lives here in Austin. Someone with a 4-5 skill level and a 5-0 personality. You can watch our entire tournament gameplay in full on his YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to our tournament video down below in the description. In this video, I'm gonna break down the stats of our tournament performance both individually and as a team. I'm gonna compare our stats to the average stats of 4-5 men's doubles losing players and winning players. I'll summarize the key findings from this analysis as to what our strengths and weaknesses are, the things that I think will help Paul and I get to the next level of pickleball. And if you missed my previous video on 4-5 men's double stats from before, I'll put a link to that video in the description so you can go check out that video after this one. Now, one of the reasons why this tournament was even possible for me was because of the high performance Victory insoles that I've been wearing since I got injured back in February. I sprained my ankle very badly right before one of my tournament games with my son at the start of February this year. It's been almost 3 months since. During this entire time, I've not been able to play a single competitive game, and it really sucked for me. What sucks even more is that I still don't know how much longer this recovery is going to take. Will I ever be back to 100% again? The biggest lesson out of this injury for me is making sure that I wear the right equipment during my practice and reg games. One of the things I started using since my injury are these custom-made gold carbon fiber high-performance insoles from Victory. Not only they help enhance my comfort and performance on the court with its unmatched support for the arch of my feet, but what I really love about these insoles is that they offer better stability to my feet, in particular my toes and heels. And thanks to the full-length carbon fiber base plate, it also gives me better energy return and helps to absorb the shock during high-impact movements, which happens frequently in pickleball. As a guy who likes doing analysis and digging into numbers quite a bit, I was impressed when I found out that the Victory insoles can help reduce the risk of foot injury by 41% and lower leg injuries by 22%. If you're interested in protecting yourself better, you can buy a pair of these with 20% discount using my link down below in the description. And if you're not completely satisfied, there's also a 90-day money-back guarantee. So why not give these a try now? One thing to know before I dive into the analysis is that Paul and I had only played one reg game together leading up to this tournament. So it's pretty fair to say that we didn't really know much about how each other plays and what to expect from one another. If you watch our full tournament gameplay on Paul's channel, you see that both of us were holding ourselves back a little bit, and there were definitely some confusions on some of the shots in the middle. Nevertheless, I think Paul and I improvised pretty well. We ended up even winning our playoff match before getting completely destroyed in the next round by a really good team. We played a total of 5 games that evening. In our first game, we lost 4-11. Second game, it was very close. We ended up losing 11-13. Then we went on to lose the third game by 5-11 before we pocketed our first dub in game 4, which we won by 16-14. Again, a really close game. Then in game 5, we got completely destroyed. The score was 2-15. Let's start the analysis by looking at the first 4 shots, which I think is the foundation of pickleball. Players at the 4-0 plus level typically have developed a solid first 4 shots. Overall, our first 4 shot performance was very comparable to the stats of average 4-5 level players, with our serves having as high of a success rate as 99% overall, which is higher than even the average winning teams at the 4-5 level. Our combined success rate of the returns was also quite high, setting at 95%, although this is still a tad below the average performance at this level. If you're also struggling with your returns, be sure to check my previous video on returns that's now gained over 100,000 views. It's also helped myself improve my returns very significantly over the last year. I'm sure you'll find it helpful too. Now, the third shot performance really surprised me. Paul has had many years of competitive tennis background, so the drive shot is actually one of Paul's biggest strengths in my opinion. However, when I break down our individual performances on our third shot drives, you'll see that Paul actually had noticeably lower success rate than me. I think there's actually 2 reasons behind it. One, knowing Paul's drives were very good, One of our strategies that we discussed ahead of the tournament was to have Paul drive more thirds and have me dropping more thirds. And the numbers here indicate that we did indeed execute exactly what we said we were going to do. Not only Paul drove more than twice as much as me on the third shot. Composition wise, 45% of his thirds were drives versus me, where only 18% of my thirds were drives. So with twice as many drive shots, this naturally leads to more likelihood of errors. Reason number 2. Despite the superior quality and consistency of Paul's drive mechanics, I think the second reason why Paul had a higher error rate on the drive was perhaps because he was trying to go for too good of a shot at times, which ended up giving him less margin to work with, resulting in more shots either dumped into the net or going out. As for me, since I don't have a built-in tennis driver like Paul, so hitting really good winner drives was simply not an option for me, especially at the 4-5 level. My only goal for my drive shots were to just make the ball over the net and keep it in so that we can hopefully hit an easier fifth. Most of my drives were around 50 to 60% power, not very challenging to counter by the other team, but it kept us in the point. On contrary, the shot that I thought I was better at, i.e. the third shot drop, my success rate was only 84%, which is significantly lower than Paul's 92% success rate. Honestly, I think the reason why I missed so many of my third shot drops was the same as what I mentioned about Paul's drives. Again, something for me to pay attention to in the future. I need to give my drop shots more margin and just make the ball over the net even if the drop is a little high. I need to trust our ability to defend on the fifth shot and stay in the point. The other learning from this for myself is that I need to spend more time improving my drive shots so I can become a more well-rounded player on the third shot. Overall, Paul and I had a combined success rate of 88.3% on our third shots, which puts us right between the average 4-5 winners and the losers. And 69% of our third shots were drop shots. That is, for every 10 thirds we took, almost 7 of them were drops. And remember this number because it's the key to understand another stat that I'll share later on in this video, so hang in tight. Our fourth shot is definitely our weakest shot overall, with a combined success rate of 85.6%, which puts us below the average 4-5 men's performance. Although this is mostly because of my individual performance on the fourth shot being significantly lower, setting only at 83.7%, whereas Paul's fourth shot success rate was very much on par with the average 4-5 players. So for me, I definitely need to spend more time focusing on improving my fourth shot, especially my fourth shot volley against good drives. Overall, our combined success rate of the first 4 shots was 92.11%, which is very much on par with the average 4-5 level players. Although individually, based on our stats, I do think Paul is a stronger player than me as far as the first 4 shots are concerned. Something I should not be surprised by considering his strong tennis background. And if you're still watching this video at this point, you want to know the drill that I did the most often to help improve my first 4 shots, check out my previous video where I walk you through how anyone can get better at the first 4 shots with or without a tennis background. I'll stick a link to the video down below. Now, moving on to the fifth shot performance, which I believe is the single most important shot that differentiates a high 4-5 team from a low 4-5 team. Our overall fifth shot success rate was only at 75.3%, which is quite a bit lower than even the average losing team performance at 4-5 level. What surprised me here was that despite Paul having a very strong defensive game, his error rate on the fifth shot was higher than expected. Now, this could be due to a number of reasons. For example, I could have consistently dropped my third high in front of Paul, which sets him up for failure, or our opponents, for whatever reason, consistently had put away fourth shot at Paul, making his fifth shot overall more difficult than mine. Anyway, if you have time to watch our games on Paul's channel, I would love to hear your thoughts and what you think is happening with our fifth shots. If you're still with me at this point, I want to just thank you again for your undivided attention. On this channel, I do my best to share my learnings, mistakes, and analysis with average people like you and I. I try to share these things in a way that's digestible for average players like us. The mistakes that you see me making are likely the mistakes that's also holding you back from getting better. The analysis that I do to help my own games are likely the things that's also going to help you grow in the same way. If you enjoy my content, do me a small favor by hitting that subscribe button, like and share this video with others like us. It'll really help this video reach more people who might also benefit from over 40 hours of analysis. Now, remember from earlier in this video, I mentioned that almost 7 out of 10 of our thirds were drop shots. Despite our below average 5th shot performance, Paul and I actually did exceptionally well at getting to the kitchen after our third shot drops, setting at 69% success rate, making our stats even higher than the average winning teams at the 4-5 level. In other words, every time we had a third shot drop, we had around 70% chance of making it to the kitchen. In total, we had 71 third shot drops and we made it to the kitchen 49 times, which honestly speaking is quite impressive, especially at the 4-5 level. This could be due to a combination of several factors, such as the raw quality of our drops, the quality of our opponent's 4th shot at the kitchen, our ability to reset the 5th shot, and our movement to get to the kitchen quickly. Since Pickleball Doubles game is all about getting to the kitchen, Paul and I did very well at doing just that. This then begs the question, why did we lose more games than we won during this entire tournament? Unfortunately, the sad truth was that we simply didn't play the kitchen game as well as most of the teams that we encountered at the tournament. Despite our ability to close in at the kitchen often, we only won 40% of those kitchen rallies, walking away fruitlessly a lot of the time in the scores department. For me personally, one of the things that I noticed about some of these higher end 4 or 5 teams was that a lot of the time I couldn't just rely on them making unforced errors to win points like I do with the 4-0 plus or lower end 4 or 5 teams. For example, in our 5th game where we lost to Dan and Min 15-2, I remember having quite a few long dink rallies at the kitchen with Dan. In fact, we had 3 rallies that were 20 shots and more. Our longest rally was 27 shots. But they were not making mistakes even in those extended long rallies. The other thing I noticed was that I was mostly hitting one-handed backhand slice dinks, even in situations where I could have done two-handed backhand topspin dink instead to make their shots more aggressive. Also, I wasn't moving my opponents enough with the ball placement of my dinks. They were just more consistent with their dinks, better footwork and movement. They also had more shot variety, better ball placement than me. And these are the areas I'm definitely going to start focusing more on moving forward. So the key takeaway is that at the higher end 4 or 5 games, consistency is no longer going to win me many points because most teams at this level are quite consistent. I need to start making more good shots to win points. Now, I did start this video by saying there's a secret weapon that a lot of us are overlooking right now, and it could have definitely helped Paul and I win more points during our tournament, especially against the higher end 4 or 5 teams like Min and Dan, who are very good at controlling the kitchen. It's speed up. In men's doubles, the speed up performance at a 4 or 5 level is one of the biggest differentiating factors between losers and winners according to my data, with the winning teams having an average success rate of 50%, leading the average losing team by 12%. Both the winning and losing teams are similar in that the majority of their speed-ups are volleys, and this is where the gap gets even bigger. The winning teams on average have a volley speed-up success rate of 55%. This may seem to be a flip of a coin, but this flip of a coin probability is 18% better than the losing teams, who on average only have 37% success rate when they initiated volley speed-ups. Now, looking at our own stats, between Paul and I, we sped up 53 times in total throughout the tournament. Our overall speed-up success rate was only 32%, which puts us 6% lower than even the average losing teams at the 4-5 level. What's even worse is that our off-the-bounce speed-up had an embarrassing success rate of only 13%. Luckily, we didn't do too many of those. Only 15% of our speed-ups were off the bounce. This is probably the biggest skill gap for Paul and I as a team. With the rallies typically lasting between 7 to 8 shots on average at this level, teams can frequently get to the kitchen, so having quick hands is crucial for any serious player who wants to compete at the 4 or 5 plus level tournaments. Very happy that we got one close game and one win from the tournament. And with 1 dub and 4 losses, my duper actually went up by 0.007. Lots of fun and also lots of learnings for us to work on. If you want to see me play another tournament with Paul, comment down below. And this is Jiang from Backpaddle Pickleball. I'll see you in my next video.